Caroline Williman is the project coordinator for Doctors Without Borders search and rescue operations in the Mediterranean Sea, and she joins me now from Marseille in France. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, two migrant boats were shipwrecked and sank off the coast of Italy in the Mediterranean just in the last couple of days. Your organisation is familiar with the kinds of operations that happen after these disasters. What more can you tell us about how these search and rescues play out?
Indeed, so we've seen in the last few days another few disasters in the Mediterranean. As you mentioned very correctly, this is nothing new. And so as Médecins Sans Frontières, we are both involved in actual rescue operations. So ourselves last week when I was on board, we also had to recover 11 bodies that were spotted at sea. They were spotted by a humanitarian aircraft who saw the bodies floating at sea. And this also really shows how many unknown deaths there are in the Mediterranean. Some of these disasters we hear about, some of these disasters we will never know, people disappearing. And then I have colleagues as well who are present on the shores in Italy who have been providing psychological care to the survivors of one of the shipwrecks that happened this week, where there were 11 survivors, but up to 60 people reported missing, and which is indeed reliving the nightmare of last year, the huge shipwreck off the coast of Greece, where again, the only thing at that point we can do as a humanitarian organization is provide some psychological relief, psychological support for people who are going through these horrendous losses, while actually, of course, the real support should come before these disasters happen. These are not natural disasters. These are the result of European policies that make people choose the most dangerous route because it is the only option they have.
And of course, the numbers are horrifying. According to the UNHCR, more than 600 refugees and migrants are estimated to have died or gone missing while making the journey to Europe in 2024 so far. And that's out of more than 70,000 total arrivals. What do those numbers tell you about what more needs to be done to avoid these types of drowning deaths and the current state of legislation in Italy preventing rescues in the Mediterranean?
Yes, indeed. So it seems that we've reached the very unfortunate mark of 1,000 deaths now this week in the Mediterranean for the year 2024. As you said so very correctly, desperate people will not be stopped from making this journey. And so if there are no safe ways for them to make this journey, they will make whatever dangerous journey is available to them. I have met so many people who have fled the hell of Libya and who will tell us again and again, I would rather die at sea than go back to Libya, which unfortunately still happens because the European Union does continue to support the Libyan Coast Guard, who intercepts people, brings them back to detention centers in Libya. So if we're asking what needs to be done, that is one thing that needs to stop. What is needed as well is state-led search and rescue capacity. I think from our side, we are so enraged and desperate with the fact that these deaths just continue to happen. It's not necessary. There are other ways, and indeed what we have seen is nothing new, unfortunately, that search and rescue ships are being blocked. So I mean the civilian NGO search and rescue ships. We have been blocked for many years in different ways in the work that we do. But indeed, since the last 1.5 years under the new government in Italy, there are specific rules that prevent us from doing more than one rescue, and also that send us to ports that are very far away. So I last disembarked 165 survivors in the northern port of Genoa, which is about as far north as it gets in Italy. And of course, this sending us to these faraway ports is taking us away from time spent in the search and rescue area doing rescue. So since this new legislation and these new practices in place, we have been spending an exorbitant amount of time just sailing up and down the Italian coast, basically, to deliver people who then very often are actually brought by bus to places south of where we deliver them by boat. And even if they would need to travel north in the country, they will be much faster by bus. So really, this is a measure that aims at blocking the work of NGOs. NGOs, including ourselves, Médecins Sans Frontières, we have been detained now twice for 20 days. Again, those are twice 20 days that we are not out at sea to do the rescues that are so desperately needed. And as the latest numbers of deaths highlight time and again.
Caroline Willeman in Marseille in France, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.